Welcome to tonight's BBC London on what the Mayor says is a dark day for London. We're in Golders Green, where Jewish Londoners and the whole community react to the ambulance arson attack.
Everything was on fire, people were telling each other that something happened and there were explosions. We were very panicked.
Forensic investigations are continuing to piece together exactly what happened here in the early hours of this morning. Meanwhile, more than £1 million has been raised for the community here.
Also on the programme, 20 years of the Baby on Board badge. Has it made a difference to pregnant commuters in the capital? Plus,
my name's Steve Backshall. I'm here at Woodbury Wetlands finding out what deadly animals live right here in Hackney.
And from Spandau Ballet to the Stranglers, why this ornate hall in West London became an 80s hit in its own right. Hello and good evening to you. We start with more on last night's arson attack on Jewish community ambulances in Golders Green, an area the local MP describes as the beating heart of London's Jewish community. People living and working there have been telling us how they're feeling. Police patrols have been stepped up in the area after the incident, which is being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime. CCTV appears to show 3 people setting the vehicles on fire before fleeing. Let's cross to the scene in Golders Green and join my colleague, Victoria. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Riz. It's very loud, it's very busy here in North London because the March of Solidarity has just arrived on the pavement just up from here, marching in solidarity with the community here in terms of what happened in the early hours of this morning. Over this side is where investigations are still going on, just around the bend in the corner there, as to what happened at 1:45 this morning when we know 3 attackers attacked those ambulances. Counter-terrorism police are leading the investigation, but they've said it's not been declared a terrorist incident at this stage. The Prime Minister has said that this was an horrific anti-Semitic attack. The Chief Rabbi described it as an act of deep evil. But for many people here, this isn't an attack on ambulances. This is an attack on an entire community. Well, Anna O'Neill has spent the day here getting people's reactions to what happened overnight.
This was the moment 4 community Hatzalah ambulances were set on fire in the early hours of this morning in Golders Green. Barry lives locally and was woken by his baby daughter crying at the noise.
Everything was on fire, people were telling each other that something happened and there were explosions. We were very panicked.
And was there any doubt in your mind at that point that this was an anti-Semitic attack?
Unfortunately not. We're expecting it, unfortunately. I'm saying, thank God, I haven't personally been affected so much, but my kids go to school and they commonly get people honking loudly or throwing stuff over the fence, and there's not a good feeling at the moment.
And it was soon confirmed by police as such.
This arson attack is being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime. This is a devastating incident for our Jewish communities, and we've launched an immediate investigation to identify those responsible.
With the perpetrators still at large as the Chief Rabbi arrived to view the scene.
This is absolutely horrific. This is an act of deep evil. I've just been at the site, standing alongside the 3 ambulances, parked just alongside a synagogue, of which windows have been blown out, and an apartment block, many stories high, all the windows blown out on that side. It's an outright miracle that nobody was injured.
The community here was out in force, angry and upset about what had happened, and at times there was tension in the crowd about some of the media presence.
The presence here is causing a breach of the peace, so move on.
This lady wanted to speak to us, but asked us to disguise her identity as a Jewish woman who left Iran decades ago.
I am here, I'm Iranian Jew, 47 years living in London. We couldn't go back. We lost everything. That doesn't matter. At least we have got our life. But I can't imagine. You're living in 21st century. Yeah. I think the wrong things is the governments in the world.
A fundraiser to buy new ambulances had already raised nearly £1 million by this afternoon. In the meantime, this community vows to stay strong. Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Well, lots of concern, lots of upset in the community, as you heard in Anna's report there. But many in London's 150,000 or so Jewish community say they've been raising these concerns for a long time about the growing fear of anti-Semitism. One local councillor said this morning it had been permitted to become normalised. Well, I spoke to Rabbi Herschel Gluck, who's a communal rabbi, he describes himself as. He's also president of the Shomrim of North and East London, and he says he feels safe in London. He says London is an inclusive capital city. It's a tolerant city where he feels safe. But he says this attack does raise some very big questions.
I would say that the Jewish community is a deeply traumatized community historically, and therefore when hate crimes do occur, it has a very profound effect on members of the Jewish community.
So this particular incident will have implications far and wide then in terms of how people feel?
I mean, this incident sends out all the wrong messages. It shows that how vulnerable the Jewish community is, and it shows that the protection that is being afforded the Jewish community is not sufficient and not fit for purpose.
Well, the community has been promised 4 new ambulances by the Health Secretary. They haven't actually arrived anywhere near on scene yet. Certainly we were told by tomorrow morning. As I said before, the March Against Hate is still taking place just over my shoulder over there. There's been fundraising for the community here as well, and we know that that has reached more than £1 million today. So in less than 24 hours, that target has been reached to show a level of support for the people in this community. But as the Mayor Sadiq Khan said today, in his words, for many, this is a very dark day indeed.
From Golders Green, Victoria, many thanks for that. Well, the local MP, Sarah Sackman, was at the scene there this morning. I spoke to her a little earlier about how she and the Jewish community there were feeling.
I said to somebody earlier that this doesn't just feel close to home, this is home. I'm proud to be the MP for Finchley and Golders Green, but I'm also a member of the community. The site where it happened is a stone's throw away from incredible organisations like Jewish Care, local shops where people will be doing their Passover shopping next week. And this does feel incredibly alarming, worrying to the local Jewish community. But I do just want to share one thing with your viewers, which is that when I met with the amazing volunteers of Hatzalah, that's the volunteer ambulance service that was the subject of the attack, I met with them this morning and I spoke to them. And here's the amazing thing. Even in the midst of that horrific attack last night, they told me that their first responders were taking calls from right across the diverse community in Finchley and Golders Green to save lives, to attend to people who were sick. And I think the fact that those volunteers were able to operate in that way during something like this, such a vile, horrific hate crime, I think tells you something about the resilience, not just of the local Jewish community, but our diverse community in North London.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we know that police are stepping up patrols in the area. Given what you're hearing from people, how much of a difference will that make? What do they want to see?
Well, I really want to welcome the response from local police, but also the counter-terror police that are conducting investigations to get to the bottom of what happened last night. It's so important that these perpetrators are caught and that they feel the full force of the law. But I don't want people to be in any doubt. For a long time now, the local Jewish community has felt threatened. It's why it receives the money that it receives from government in terms of providing security to local Jewish schools and synagogues. And it's why it's so important that we see that additional police presence over the coming days and weeks.
And Sarah Sackman, for anyone who's not familiar with Golders Green, just tell us, what is it like there? What are the people like?
Golders Green is an amazing place. It's vibrant, it's buzzy, You can walk down Golders Green High Street and you'll pass kosher supermarkets, Polish delis, cafes. It's an amazing area. As I said, it's the beating heart of London's Jewish community, but also other faith and ethnic communities as well.
The Health Secretary this morning was with you, who says that the government will fund the replacement of the 4 destroyed Golders Green-based ambulances. But already more than £500,000 has been raised within the space of hours. That speaks to what you've just been saying.
You know, we have this concept in Judaism that the way to respond to baseless hatred is through endless love. And that's what you're seeing through the fundraising that's coming in from all sections of society. I do think it's important that government also shows not just the money that the NHS will be funding these 4 replacement ambulances. I think that shows a very important thing, that the British state, that the British people stand with Britain's Jews. But then to see the outpouring of love from right across the community is what gives me hope. The vast majority of British people are decent and tolerant and are supportive of British Jewish community, and long may that continue.
That was Sarah Sackman, Labour MP for Finchley and Golders Green, and that total, as we've heard this evening, fundraising is now more than £1 million. Well, our political editor Carl Mercer joins me. Hi, Carl. Strong words from the local MP there, and much political reaction today, as you might expect.
Yeah, and it started very early. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, was with Sarah Sackman up at Golders Green this morning, promising, as she said, that the NHS, the government, would pay for those 4 new ambulances to be replaced. And we've also seen action from the Prime Minister today, calling in members of the Jewish community to Downing Street for a conference with them early this afternoon, and then again in Parliament later this afternoon, a government statement on the events where Dan Jarvis, the Security Minister, was saying the government will do all it can to track down those responsible, and the Home Secretary saying we will pursue them and make them face the consequences of this wicked crime. Also reaction, of course, as you would expect today, from the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
Today's a dark day for London. Jewish Londoners who volunteer to provide a service for all Londoners have been attacked for no other reason than because they are Jewish. This is an anti-Semitic hate crime, and it's really important for all of us to show allyship to the Jewish community. I'm in close contact with the police, including the Commissioner, with the Community Security Trust, with local leaders, with the Jewish community, with the ambulance service, with the fire service, to make sure those responsible for this despicable, cowardly attack are brought to book with the full face of full force.
And Carl, clear concerns that the impact of events in the Middle East are being felt here in London.
Yeah, and we have seen it over recent weeks, haven't we? Just a couple of weeks back, we saw the controversial Al-Quds march was banned, and first time a march has been banned in London for 14 years. That over concerns about Iranian influence and concerns about anti-Semitism rising. We've heard the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, today call for the removal of foreign nationals who express anti-Semitism, and the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage saying there needs action because a terror cell is embedded in North London. Meanwhile, the efforts continue to reassure the Jewish community there will be many more police patrols across North London and other Jewish areas in London over the coming weeks.
Carl, with the latest there, many thanks. Our political editor, Carl Mercer. And that is our top story tonight, but there's still plenty more to come on the programme.
We'll be talking about this famous little badge worn by mums-to-be travelling across London, and also how, to celebrate 20 years, a new one has now been born.
Well, do you know what? Let's pick up on that story right now, because have you ever given up your seat on the tube or bus for someone who is pregnant? As we heard Matt just say there, it is 20 years since TfL launched Baby on Board badges. While they've been helpful for many mums-to-be, some say they're still having to stand while commuters stare into their books or phones. Here's Matt Graveling.
Commuting, if I didn't travel into work outside of peak times, it's really difficult. If I do have to travel within those hours, getting a seat or being offered a seat is very, very hard. Not the easiest, definitely 6 months pregnant.
Hannah's journey today is outside of the rush hour, so thankfully there's lots of free seats. But Hannah says she's usually left to stand, despite wearing her baby on board badge.
A lot of people are glued to their mobile phones, so they tend to just fixate more looking down on the ground rather than actually just looking up and being aware of their surroundings.
Today, TfL celebrates 20 years since this badge was released, and it comes with a plea to passengers.
I think that we could all sometimes break out of the bubble that we're in, cast our eyes up, look around and see if there's somebody that might need a seat more than you do.
I guess having Wi-Fi now underground probably isn't helping people get away from their phones.
The fact that we've now got 4 and 5G on so many of our train services is fantastic in terms of people being able to get more content, but it also can perhaps lead to people to be a little bit more engrossed in what they're looking at.
Over the last 2 decades, Transport for London estimate they've given away more than 1 million of these baby on board badges. And now, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the badge, a new one has been born. Babies on board, for mothers of twins, triplets, or maybe even more. Shauna Levin is a mum of twins and chief executive of Twins Trust.
Having more than one baby at a time brings extra anxiety, but also worse symptoms in many cases than having a single pregnancy. And we'd love for the community to be more aware of this so that they can better support people that are pregnant with more than one baby.
But how do you feel about the badges? We shared Hannah's story online. Here's a couple of the comments.
I was 10 weeks pregnant and my badge was ignored. I collapsed in the train from the heat. Unless it's a priority seat, you don't have the right to one. People work long hours and they're not obligated to give up their seats unless they want to.
Etiquette on TfL has gone out the window. We need re-highlighting of these through announcements, posters, etc. It's getting ridiculous.
While filming with Hannah, we boarded one busy train where Simon gave up his seat.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
When my wife was pregnant and had a badge, I think she's always grateful. The badge is extremely useful then for sending a clear message.
These badges are available for free from TfL, who continue to call for kindness on the commute and hope all passengers will get on board. Matt Graveling, BBC London.
OK, some other local stories on BBC News. Cutty Sark Station in Greenwich has reopened ahead of schedule after major upgrade works to the lifts and escalators. In Surrey, the grants of up to £200 available to help pay for sports clubs for teenagers from low-income families in Epsom and in Newell. Over in Essex, how a hospice is to benefit from the sale of this classic car, which has been restored after being left to decay in a Chelmsford barn. For more on those and other stories, just head over to the BBC News app. Now, London is one of the greenest cities in the world, but do we use those spaces enough? The London Wildlife Trust is on a mission to get more of us into nature, and today help was on hand from a naturalist and broadcaster who swapped dangerous animals for primary school children in Hackney. Wendy Hurrell has the story.
Nestled now beneath Hackney tower blocks on the edge of Woodbury wetlands is a little playground, officially opened by broadcaster Steve Backshall. For a very excited group of children from a local school to try out.
What are your thoughts on this new playground?
I like how it's very adventurous, and I think one thing that would make it better was if you make it bigger.
Ah, but we must leave room for the wildlife, which Steve was very impressed with.
I have the great privilege to travel the world and to see lots and lots of cities, and they are not all as green as London is. You know, London has lots of wild spaces, and we should absolutely treasure them because it's not like this all over the world. And to be here right now, and I've seen Setti's warblers and reed warblers and great crested grebes dancing with each other, right, I mean, it's just fabulous.
The whole point of the playground is to bring more people to nature. Some didn't even know this place existed. Others are regular visitors, they think.
I feel like it's once a week, but I feel like it's once 2 times a week. Yeah. It's confusing me now.
That's all right. But you like it here and you love your nature?
Yes.
Where is your school? Is it nearby?
It's like there.
It's over there. Over there. But this is the first time you've ever come here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you might come back a bit more often now?
Yeah.
Yeah? How often?
Maybe once in a while.
Come on! The London Wildlife Trust mission is to get us to take note of nature so that we protect it. I suppose this is getting them young, isn't it?
This is getting them young, really early on. Just that connection, that take note
Stop, look, listen, smell the air, just connect with the natural world on your doorstep. A little natural play space gives them just the keys, just the confidence, the access route into this wonderland of wildlife.
The new playground is an addition to the education programme the London Wildlife Trust runs for local schools, where children learn about the other little creatures that share their home. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
Well, let's go indoors now, and this is the stunning 19th century Arab Hall in Kensington's Leighton House, at the centre of a new exhibition, and famous as the setting for videos by Spandau Ballet and the Stranglers in the 1980s. It's one of countless London backdrops used for music videos over the years, and as Lakshmi Gopal reports, their use as locations has opened them up to new audiences and in some cases shaped their identity.
The Arab Hall in Leighton House, the subject of a new exhibition and the backdrop of classic 80s music videos.
Never a frown, golden brown.
The Stranglers' Golden Brown and Spandau Ballet's Gold. Its ornate Middle Eastern tiles making it a fitting setting.
You know, I think it had a sort of 80s quality about it. It was flamboyant, and I think there was an intrigue about the place that had a sort of exoticism that I think suited the time.
It's a real testament to the Arab Hall, I think, that it really created this very compelling, believable atmosphere of somewhere far more exotic than just off Kensington High Street.
And do visitors ask about those music videos even now, all these decades later?
Definitely, the use of the house for videos and in films is something that definitely brings an audience of its own, and perhaps an audience that wouldn't otherwise seek out the museum, so it's great for us.
Another London location popular over the years is Hoxton Street, used by the Arctic Monkeys, Fat Les, and first made famous by The Verve in this video. Music critics called the street one of the defining images of the Britpop era. YouTuber Rob Lorden says the video in turn helped shape the area.
At the time, Hoxton didn't have the reputation it does now. It was still a bustling street with lots of independent shops on it. But when that video came out, it brought it to the fore.
All corners of the capital have been chosen over the years, whether it's Madonna getting hung up on streets near Borough Market, or Stormzy bossy bopping on Westminster Bridge and the Royal Docks and everywhere in between.
Then I finish with a facial just to top it off.
I'd say one of the most attractive things to a director is the sheer amount of backdrops they can use. There's a huge visual palette that they can work from. There's all manner of architectural styles. There's Georgian terraces, touring housing, brutalism.
And what better backdrop to exemplify brutalism than the Barbican? Its varied facades feature in Dua Lipa's Blow Your Mind and As It Was by Harry Styles.
Why do you think so many artists choose a place like this as a location for their music video?
Well, it's got a very appealing background for videos, especially if they want to lend it a certain urban edge.
Places like these draw music tourism too.
Set jetting, as it's very cleverly called, it brings a whole new type of tourist to wherever. So not many Harry Styles fans would have gone, oh yeah, I know the Barbican, I'm familiar with the brutalist architecture of the 1960s. No, but they'll come here and go, oh, this is really cool.
And over the years, fans have flocked here to the Barbican and to other music video locations to recreate the dance moves of their favourite artists.
Whether copying choreography or visiting the Croydon shopping centre where Taylor Swift filmed Opalite, music videos give locations a new legacy and fans a chance to follow in their idols' footsteps. Lakshmi Gopal, BBC London.
Some great nostalgia there. Now, after a decent weekend, let's get a check on the weather with Kate. And I bet you're going to tell me it's all changed, aren't you?
I am a little bit. It's been a lovely day today, though. We've just about hung on to those spring-like conditions. It's been relatively warm as well, and we've had a little bit of sunshine, albeit hazy. But the outlook for this week, it is all set to change. We're going to lose the temperatures. The temperature is starting to tumble slightly. It's getting much colder, breezier, and more unsettled. Not quite yet, though. Now, this was first thing this morning, a bit of mistiness. You can see a bit of haze. We had some high cloud, and this was at sunset. We hung on to that high cloud all day, just little glimpses of that hazy sunshine. Now, this was early. You can see that high cloud. It has more or less been with us, but you can see it's getting thicker as we head towards this evening, and actually it's going to continue to thicken up overnight, becoming largely cloudy, maybe 1 or 2 breaks in the cloud here and there towards dawn tomorrow. The minimum temperature, though, because of this cloud, it's not going to be as cold as last night, 7 or 8 Celsius, the minimum. So into Tuesday, there may be a little bit of brightness around first thing, short-lived though, because the cloud is going to thicken. There's a chance of maybe a spot or two of rain within this cloud, but predominantly dry. The wind is something you're going to notice tomorrow. Is going to strengthen by the end of the day. We're looking at gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour, still managing 15 Celsius though, despite the lack of sunshine. Then overnight is going to get much windier. Tomorrow we've got this cold front and subsequent front following behind it. Quite squally as the rain moves through. You'll notice a northwesterly flow will start to develop as well. So this is overnight tomorrow. That's that band of rain that moves through. Now we will get some clearer spells behind it, but we're looking at gusts of wind 50 miles per hour as it passes. Minimum temperature a little bit colder, 4 or 5 Celsius. Now, as we head into Wednesday, there's sunshine and showers. There could be quite a few showers. They could be quite sharp. Within them, you might get a rumble of thunder and even some hail. Temperatures pretty low too. We're looking at 9 or 10 Celsius. Despite the sunshine, it's that breeze on Wednesday that's the problem. Similar for Thursday, but should be dry. In fact, we might just wake up to frost and some ice on Thursday morning as temperatures drop down to 0, if not below. Riz.
Goodness, a bit of everything. Thank you, Kate. And that is where we leave you this Monday. There is, of course, plenty more on today's top story on our website. Lots of other stories there too, including a video that is so worth seeing. The dynamic duo of the Londoner and his cat on a mission to make us smile. From me and the team, thanks for being with us and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
The BBC Make a Difference Awards celebrate people in your community who are truly remarkable.
If I send you a guitar, will you start playing again?
Wow.
If that sounds like someone you know, we want to hear from you. To find out how to nominate, go to bbc.co.uk/makeadifference, where you can see our full terms and privacy notice.
Nominations are open now and close on Tuesday, the 31st of March at 5 p.m.
Well done for everything you've done.
The BBC Make a Difference Awards 2026, celebrating people who make a difference where you live.